Hello, everybody. This is Jared, the non-alcoholic aficionado. We've got some reviews today of three beers. We have the Deschutes Fresh Squeezed, the Untitled Art American Gold, and the Fancy Like from Athletic Brewing. I've got a friend of mine, Myles Faulkner, on today to help with today's reviews. Thanks for joining, Myles.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Jared.
Well, let's get right into it. I know there's been a lot of hype around the Deschutes Fresh Squeezed IPA, and for good reason. It is a very interesting story behind it, and see if I can just get this up here. I've already reviewed it, so if you want more in-depth review, you can check out my channel. But this is one to be on the lookout for if you haven't tried it already. And I know, Myles, you've got some history around it as well, being where you reside.
So I live in Portland, Oregon, and Deschutes Brewery is 3 hours down the road in Bend, Oregon. I actually, slightly dorkily, went down there for the very first day of the release of this beer. It's not something I would normally do. My wife happened to be down there for an event. And I thought, I'll pop in the car and head down there. And so even the bar staff were fairly surprised that I even knew about it. But it was lovely to go into a pub and order a really great non-alcoholic beer. Well, I didn't know at the time, but it's turned out to be a really great beer. And it was fun. Had a couple there and took a couple of six-packs home with me. So
Nice. I think I'm on my third six-pack since it came out, and I'm a big fan. I'm going to cheers.
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 Yeah, that's good.
It is solid.
It really is. I expected kind of nothing less after the Black Butte non-alcoholic that came out. That was really solid as well. But my understanding is that they've invested about $5 million worth of capital into expanding their non-alcoholic beer side of their project, and I think 5 years of research and development. So they've taken it slowly but done it really well.
Yeah, it's showing in spades with the quality product they put out. So I think there's something to be said about getting the response from the space. I've heard, I'm in Instagram pages and groups and Facebook groups and on LinkedIn, and everybody's talking about the technology and how good the beer is. So I think it's something to stand behind. They've got a good thing going.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I think what's good about them is I think even with their Alc line, they don't have more than 4 or 5 beers. They really focus on putting out a quality product. Obviously Black Butte Porter, and they've got the original fresh squeezed in Alc form, and then Mirror Pond Pale Ale I think is another one of their pretty popular ones. So yeah, they do quality work. They've just announced, I don't know if you're aware of this, they've just announced a collaboration with who is it? Patagonia, yeah.
Yeah.
For September 1st. So I think that's a lager and a golden they're putting out. So I'm pretty excited to see that.
And that's with the fully organic product. They're using a different grain style, I believe. That's I think it's called Crenza, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I noticed that. I wasn't too familiar with it, so I guess it's something I've got to dive into. But yeah, no, I'm really excited to try that as well. I think they're going to be, big players in this market. So and they've got that distribution already. with the outside.
Oh yeah. Yep. And I don't know about you, but when I drank standard beer, that Fresh Squeezed IPA was up there with one of my go-tos. So to have the ability to tap into it and have as many as I want without worrying about the side effects is a nice little change of pace. It's kind of akin to the Belgian white from Blue Moon, because that was also one of my go-tos back in the day. And now that's an NA version. So it's kind of cool. These breweries are taking, maybe taking the nod from their sober customers and making the good stuff that people want. So it's kind of cool.
Yeah, it does seem like they're taking it very seriously now. I think that there was initially, I think, a discussion about whether this was just a fad, a trend or whatever. But I think, once you start getting these bigger companies taking it seriously, there's just no chance that it really is, you know. And I think the statistics are showing that it isn't. You've got an aging Gen X that aren't drinking as much, and the generations behind us seem far less interested than we ever were. So I think it'll be interesting to see where it goes. You know, I mean, there's so many players in the market right now. There's bound to be some attrition, but at the same time, you know, it's probably going to end up being a little bit more like Germany, where every brewery has one or two non-alcoholic drinks, and maybe as that, you know, levels out, you know, with less and less people drinking alcohol, maybe that ends up being, you know, 8 taps where 4 of them are non-alcoholic and 4 of them do have alcohol. I don't know. Be interesting to see what happens, for sure.
Yeah, and you have a really unique perspective, Myles. Could you maybe give us some insight into kind of your focus and some of the work you do within the space?
Yeah, I quit drinking about 2.5 years ago. About a year into, and I'd started kind of like just dabbling in different drinks. My newsletter kind of covers not just beer, but wine, spirits, and what I call cocktails. Some other people call mocktails. My thing is more of a kind of a resource for people that are kind of getting into, not just that, but mainly kind of getting into the space, not wanting to cut down or wanting to stop altogether. And really, you know, you probably had the same feeling where you were faced with as I did, faced with a shelf full of, you know, new drinks in a new space, with lovely fancy graphics and this, that, and the other, and you just go, I have no idea where to start. So my kind of newsletter is to essentially just sort of prod people in the back a little bit and nudge them towards different drinks, and so they can go off and kind of explore things themselves. So that started about a year ago, just a little under a year ago, and that was off the heels of kind of wanting to start a bottle shop actually here in Portland, but just realized that it was probably not going to be, I was just not going to have enough time to be able to do it with the job that I already had, and a teenager and wife and dog and this, that, and the other. So it's how about you? How did you get into all of this?
Yeah, so I originally quit drinking 6 years ago, back in 2017. Had some health stuff pop up and life circumstances, and I was like, I gotta just stop. So I went cold turkey for 2 years, and then kind of dabbled back into drinking again for a bit. Life happened again, I stopped. So officially sober as of September 2019, so about coming up on 5 years almost. And I didn't really dabble too much into the NA beer the NA beer space didn't really kick into gear for me until last fall, in fall of 2023. But I was drinking like hop water and like mocktails and all that stuff. Nothing super, advanced, just basic stuff at restaurants that, they were mainly just charged water and juice and maybe some, lime, just basic, nothing too fancy. But got into the NA beer thing when I stumbled upon a sampler pack of Brooklyn breweries offerings, and just got kind of hooked on it and started to get my face on camera and talking about the beers I was trying, and created an Instagram profile that was all about NA beer and NA beverages. And since then, I think I've done maybe 40 YouTube videos and amassed about 750 Instagram followers. The cool thing about Instagram for me is it's almost like a community of people that are in similar kind of space. Like, of the people that follow me, I feel like more than half minimum are either like sober is in their name or beer is in their name. Like, it's just it's so many people that are like doing a similar effort of like documenting their sobriety or documenting their NA beer journey. And it's really refreshing, because when I stopped drinking 6 years ago, that wasn't a thing. Like, I wasn't on any forums or groups or Facebook groups or Instagram or nothing. I was just flying solo, drinking sparkling water, and trying to be social in awkward environments I wasn't used to, because I was used to drinking. So the fact that the NA beer scene is growing so rapidly and there's people, positive environments that go along with it is so refreshing. So, and it's cool to connect with folks like yourself that are, pushing the envelope to spread the word, similar to I am, but just in a different fashion. So it's fun.
Yeah, absolutely. It is great to see how much support there is out there. I can't remember who it was, whether it's one of the guys from Mash Gang actually. I think it might have been somebody else, who was just saying that there's so many. Well, from my perspective, I think the industry is extraordinarily supportive of each other, whether it be the actual beverage companies themselves, or people like you and me, and people that read our stuff or watch it. It's extraordinarily supportive. But I think from an industry perspective, I'm sure there are other areas of commerce, business, whatever, that experience the same thing. But there are so many people that are essentially advertising, promoting, you name it, all of these products for these companies, because there's just generated such excitement about it. Which is great for them, and I guess great for us too. So because they're still sticking around, But I mean, one of the other things that, like, to be honest with you, the reason why I do the newsletter is, initially it was just because I was just so happy that there were some really good drinks out there, and it was like, if I can get other people excited about this, they won't go away, So I didn't want the drinks to go away. So to some degree, it was a slightly selfish idea as well. But,
I like that. Yeah. You're creating demand by spreading the word.
Exactly.
The cool thing for me is, like, because I post on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and then a bit on LinkedIn. And it's interesting because, like, it doesn't matter where I post, sometimes I'll get comments or people sending me direct messages, and, like, people are like, hey, this was the first beer I've ever tried in a side of things, and I liked it, and it's helped me try different things. Or I've had, like, friends I used to drink with that, like, changed their path, and they're like, hey, I'm sober now, like, this is great stuff, thanks for putting this out there. And it's like, I'm not trying to change anybody's perspective on alcohol, but if they take that away as an action item for themselves to, do something about it, or try, like you said, trying something that is a substitute, then more the merrier. Like, I'm happy to play that role. I'm not preachy. I don't try to get on people that that do drink and tell them to stop. But there's other options, and that's really the gist of it. So there's so many more options today, even than there were for me looking back at what my viewpoint was 9 months ago. So these breweries just keep coming out with cool stuff.
Yeah, for sure. No, I mean, I'm the same way in that, like, for me, I made a point really early on. In fact, in the welcome email you get when you subscribe to my newsletter, it says that, I'm not here to tell you how to give up alcohol, and I'm not a beverage expert, a beverage industry expert either. I'm just an average Joe that likes these drinks, But it is, and I've even actually had people respond to the newsletter saying, I'm really glad that you're not being preachy and, like, you need to do this. So I rarely ever put, I can't even think of one thing that I've ever put in there that lends itself to advice, as it were, other than advising people to buy the drinks. But it is interesting. I do get to speak to probably more local people than anything, but every so often I'll get an email from somebody across the country, and they've just been looking for a drink to as you say, substitute, the thing's called substitute for alcohol, or they're just they're just sort of pleased that there's someone out there, or there are people like us out there, just giving a little bit of guidance,
Yep.
So, it feels nice that there's a little bit of a result at the end of it to help people, So, but
Well, my IPA is gone, and I have not tried the Untitled Art American Gold, so I'm gonna dive into that one next.
I'll put my half an inch that's left aside, and we can open the next one.
I don't know if the watchers of this video or people that have seen my stuff in the past notice, but sometimes I drink a little bit too fast, and I'm working on that. But when the beer's that good, it's hard not to.
Exactly.
And this has got a little red, white, and blue kind of thing going on with it, with the can art. American Gold. We'll see. Yeah, I bought the Untitled Art sampler pack this weekend, and this will be the last of the 4 in the pack that I've been trying. So we'll see how it goes.
Nice, excellent. Yeah, this is probably. I love a lot of different beers, but I would say if I was forced to choose one brewery that I could only drink for the rest of my life, then this honestly would probably be it. I am a huge fan of Untitled Art, so cheers to that.
Cheers to that. Read my mind. Oh, that's good.
Nice.
Yeah, I like that. It's very clean. It's like, would this be out in the line of the realm of a lager, would you say? Or is it more
I think it's sort of that golden stroke lager crossover, whatever, or territory. It's super crisp, and you've got a little bit of hoppiness there at the end, which sort of lingers, which I think is really nice. This is a hot day drink for me for sure.
Totally. It's interesting that they have it in the same package, same sampler pack as the Italian style pills, because they're similar. They're very similar. This has maybe a little bit more hops, I would say, than the pills, in my opinion, just a little bit. But it's I think if I describe it in one word, I'd say very crisp, very good bite to it.
Yeah, it's a little floral to the hops. It's like it's a nice one.
Yeah.
So you mentioned the artwork.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know this, but every single different variety or beer they bring out, they hire an artist to do the art for it.
It says artwork by Stephanie Hammond on the front. That's cool.
So if you go to their website, you can see they basically have a whole page which talks about all the artists for all the different cans, all the different beers they put out. I think they do the same thing for their, because they Untitled also do alcohol beers as well.
Yeah.
And I think they do like hot water maybe, or there's something else that they do. I can't remember. It's got alcohol in it, so I kind of don't even go to that section. But I think for every single drink they put out, they hire an artist, which I think is a really cool.
It is.
Cool idea. So, but these guys were one of the first. I remember early on when I quit drinking, and I was at a party, kind of a winter party outside, and a friend who was also had also given up alcohol had these and said, "Oh, there's this amazing brewery from Wisconsin. Try this beer."
Yeah.
I don't think it was American Gold. I think it was their West Coast IPA.
Okay.
I honestly I have not had one of their beers yet that is in any way disappointed. I actually opened a dragon fruited sour, which those sours can be, sometimes, for me anyway, sometimes they're good, sometimes they're, I do like the Go Brewing one, but even the dragon fruited sour was pretty amazing. So,
yeah. I need to try a couple more. They're sitting on the Total Wine shelf across the street from me. I need to just, take them on and give them a shot. But that would eat into my Deschutes Fresh Squeezed IPA stash.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you need shelf room for that, right?
Exactly. So, what was your go-to when you did drink? Did you have did you like more beer or cocktails or wine? Like, or what's transition? Like, have you changed your path? Like, did you go from drinking wine to wanting NA beer, or vice versa? What's your story with that?
Yeah, I would say that. So I'm in my mid-50s. I would say for the first probably 30 odd years, I drank beer, and pretty much just beer. Maybe the odd gin and tonic here and there when I was with my dad or whatever, but right before the pandemic, I started shifting towards spirits and cocktails.
Yeah.
And I think that was probably part of the problem, to be honest with you, because part of the problem for me with cocktails is, especially, and maybe if you have experienced this too, you'd know, is that the speed that I drink beer. You were talking about speed of drinking beer a little bit earlier. Like, I didn't really understand how to put the brakes on when I was drinking cocktails. So, and obviously with a much higher proof drink, that was not a very good recipe for having, for smart thinking, let's put it that way. So that was kind of where I ended off when I gave up in 22, was mostly drinking spirits. And drinking at home and that kind of stuff, and I won't get too deeply into it, but it just fueled unhappiness, I think, in the grand scheme of things. At a time where we were all kind of just trying to work out what the heck was going on. So I kind of had decided by about October of 21 that I needed to make a change, but knew that going through the Christmas period was going to be really difficult. And I kind of wanted to set myself up for success. And additionally, I'm quite weird in that I have to start things from a number that makes sense to me. So January 1st sounded, regardless of dry January, just seemed like the right thing to do rather than December 27th or something like that. So, so when I did that, I then oddly slipped back to beer. And really probably for the first year or so, really only drunk NA beer.
Okay.
And then as I started getting into to writing about it, I then started finding out about all the spirits were out there, all the RTD cocktails, ready to drink cocktails, etc. And have been sort of working through that. So to be honest with you, I sort of I'm on the fence about which one I prefer, to be honest with you. I probably there are times where I just love to have a good NA beer, and but I would say probably I'm getting a little bit more passionate about the spirits side of things and learning about that, because what's really interesting, I think, on that side of things, you've got kind of two different avenues. You've got the spirits that are mimicking what we already had before, which is the gin, the whiskeys, the tequilas, etc., of which many aren't doing a great job, but some are doing an amazing job. Things like Monday Gin, Ritual Rum, there's a whole handful of out there that you can build a pretty comprehensive bar out of. But the other side of things is the spirits that don't mimic stuff, that are just coming up with like really interesting botanical, herby, citrusy type flavors, and they're just sort of new and out there on their own, as it were. And I love that as well. I think that's really interesting space. How about you? How did you end and start?
Yeah, so I got pretty into craft beer right around senior year of college, so back in like 2012. It was in the time here in Minnesota when the craft beer scene and local tap rooms and breweries were just booming and growing really rapidly, so we had a lot of options, and kind of took it upon ourselves our senior year of college to see how many six-packs we could try. So we took every unique six-pack we bought, we would collapse the box, cut off the bottom, tack it to the top of the wall, and we had a little border going all the way around the main living room. Well, that turned into the main living room, plus the hallway, plus the kitchen, plus the front room. Well, we had about 140 unique six-pack boxes in the year, so we tried a lot of beer.
Wow.
So that was that was like, okay, now I'm into the craft beer thing. So I got all that out of my system that year to a degree, you know, dabbled with different things here and there, but craft beer was always kind of my thing. I liked the stronger beers because of the complex flavors like imperial stouts and quads and, you know, Belgian ales and all that stuff. And then I got into wine, mostly red wine, as more or less kind of like a date night thing with my ex-wife. So we got into wine, and let's see, then so it was kind of a mixture of wine and beer and occasional gin and tonic, like you said, as just to kind of spice it up. And from there, just, you know, kind of went down the sobriety route and didn't really have much until much of you know, drinks of substance that were felt like a true substitute until last fall. And then the NA beer was the go-to for a while. Stumbled upon some NA wines, including the Gießen offerings that were, you know, at Total Wine, fairly cost effective. Tried those, liked them. I've had a few others, Null and Oddbird, to name a few, which are good. And then a few ready to drink cocktails, a couple spirits I've tried here and there, but those haven't really caught on that much. It's really probably been about 85-90% NA beer for me.
Yeah.
So, but I'm not opposed to trying really anything. I'm an open book when it comes to that.
Yeah, it's there. One of the things that's a little crazy at the moment is just the volume of drinks that are coming out. I mean,
yeah,
I track it. I would say I probably track it 85 to 90% of everything that comes out, and I don't necessarily mention everything that's coming out in Europe if I don't think it's coming over here.
Sure.
But on average, it's like 6 to 7 new drinks every week. You know, across, you know, it's kind of crazy. Wow. There's just so many different drinks, and I know that I'm missing a few of the beers, but yeah, you know, and I'm not really even talking about, you know, beers that are, because I don't really cover anything that's not available to purchase for, you know, anywhere. So it has to have an online store essentially.
Yeah.
So I'm not even really covering, you know, beers that are just local breweries that are, you know, popping out, you know, a couple of beers in their own backyard, as it were. But it's pretty crazy how many drinks there are, you know, and that exciting. Actually, so it is really exciting. Yeah, what makes it a bit odd in this household, because my wife kind of gets to enjoy all these drinks as well. She sort of 98% quit when I did. Has the odd drink at events and stuff, but because I write about 3 drinks every week, I get stuck in this pattern of like having these new drinks, really liking them, and then going, oh, sorry, I've got to go to the next 3. And so I have like so many half-finished bottles of things downstairs. I need to throw a party or something, but there's just so much stuff out there that, I just never get back to. Like on the weekend, I try and have like, oh, I remember like 8 weeks ago, I really liked this. I'll try that again, you know. But good problem to have.
I've gone through stages where my fridge is just a smattering of like single cans that I intend on doing a review of, and then it's like, I think at one point I had like 20 individual cans. I'm like, I can't keep up with this. Like I gotta slow down. So then I tapered off and kind of went through the collection and picked ones I wanted to review, pick ones I just wanted to, you know, do, kind of move on from. But it's been a fun process getting on the camera and getting more comfortable with, you know, this was new to me as of fall of last year, getting used to that. Editing's been learning editing's been fun, working on thumbnails, titles, all of the things that go into YouTube. It's a process, but it's really fun. And then, you know, dovetailing that into a presence on Instagram and posting occasionally on LinkedIn to kind of, you know, diversify my brand on LinkedIn and, you know, make connections there. Like I've connected with various, like, you know, founders and CEOs of company or like breweries, and just, I don't know. That's how I stumbled upon your stuff, was on LinkedIn. So it's interesting how that space is going to develop. I feel like I think LinkedIn and NA beer and like growth of the space is going to be big. I really do.
Yeah, I agree with you. I kind of made the decision to put most of my eggs in the LinkedIn basket early on because I felt like there was a lot of people on Instagram doing what I was sort of doing. I mean, I write a newsletter, so kind of not. They were just doing an Instagram version of what I was doing.
Yep, for sure.
So I do still promote it on there, but I did a really deep dive into learning about writing newsletters, how to promote them, etc. And many of the people I spoke to on that had said that really, if you're writing something, you want to go where writers or where people read. And that's not meant to be an insult in any way. It's just like, obviously Instagram and Facebook are far more visual. Twitter or X or whatever it's called, LinkedIn are more, written word. And I've had the same experience there. It's been really rewarding. Like, I put out a teaser for my newsletter on Fridays, and then on Mondays I kind of flip what I wrote and I go into the news section and talk about all the new releases or new launches that previous week. And it's been great. Yeah, definitely same thing, really just linked up with some great founders and other people in the industry. And again, super supportive and happy for more people to be, supporting it. Yeah. So,
shall we pour the Fancy Like?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, I've only tried this once, so this will be almost a fresh take for me. And I have I'll pour this first. So I went to Illinois for a trip a few months ago and stumbled upon the United States Brewery Museum in the middle of nowhere. Potosi, Illinois, I think is where it was. Potosi Brewery, sorry. So there's the Potosi Brewery class I got. Cheers.
Cheers.
And it was really cool. They had a bunch of like old signage. They had old bottles, old cans. They had old brewing equipment. Like it was really cool to see kind of the history behind it, and then how Prohibition just demolished the whole industry, and then the ones that kind of came back and whatnot. So it was fun.
That's brilliant.
Yeah. So the
Sorry,
Fancy
where did
Like.
you say it was? Which state did you say it was?
It was in. I gotta do a quick look up. I think it was near Galena, Illinois. So near the border of Illinois and Iowa.
Okay.
Potosi, Wisconsin is where it is. So it's like the very southwestern tip of Wisconsin, at the intersection there. Yeah. Okay. Nice. But I stumbled upon the Fancy Like on the Athletic Brewing website when I was making an order. Brought a few 6-packs, and I hadn't tried it yet, so I figured I'd give it a go. I think they call it like a light pale ale, classic American pale. I like it. What are your thoughts, Myles?
Yeah, I like it too. I mean, it falls for me into sort of one of those sort of light, what I would call like a lager. Especially like an English lager, to be honest with you, slightly more robust maybe, but it's kind of one of those beach beers for me, or like post workout, post tennis, super refreshing, and I imagine that's what Walker Hayes was after. He didn't want to fill himself up with a bunch of IPAs before he went on stage. It's great. I actually think it's a little bit like the Kitty Pig beer that came out, the Saskatoon Berry, I think it was called. I love the fact that there's some people in the music industry are getting in. I worked in the music industry for about 15 years prior to getting into real estate, cool. So I've always kind of got one eye on what's going on there, and to have some music industry folks get involved in this, and especially in country music, which, God, I don't know if you've turned on country music radio stations anytime recently. I'm not a huge fan, but I do quite like country music, especially older stuff. It is unbelievable how many references to alcohol there are in in current country music, and obviously past, you know, that's well documented, but it is, I mean, literally, I would wager anyone to listen to 10 songs right now if they switched on country music, and there would be 7 or 8 of them that would mention something about alcohol, whiskey, tequila, beer. I'm drunk, I shouldn't have said what I said. Like, you know what I mean? It's just, it's unbelievable. So to be fair to Walker Hayes, I mean, he's flying in the face of an industry that definitely resonates with alcohol. So I'm really intrigued to know how his peers have embraced what he's doing or not.
Yep.
But interesting. Yeah.
I watched the Athletic Brewing Co. Documentary of the triathlon Ironman athletes. Really cool. It's on there. I think it's on YouTube. It's about an hour long, and it documents these 3 athletes. One had like a autoimmune disorder, so she was struggling through that to get back into shape to do the Ironman. One guy was had his own like personal health struggles, and the other guy was like a heroin addict. So they all like came to this event in Lake Placid, New York, and they all did the best they could with what they had, and like the trials and tribulations that go along with it. It was very insightful. And then, you know, they're all, you know, sponsored ambassadors from Athletic Brewing, so they, you know, live the sober lifestyle and, you know, rep the brand and all that cool stuff. So very interesting. That's
cool. I have to check that out. I have to admit, the only video I've seen from them recently was actually the Walker Hayes one, when I was doing research for writing about the beer, and it was their Chief Fancy Officer video. I don't know if you've seen that.
I haven't.
It's pretty funny, actually. To be fair, it was actually kind of funny. It's basically Walker Hayes getting a job at Athletic Brewing, and it's as CFO, and you think, well, he's Chief Finance Officer or whatever. It's actually no, Chief Fancy Officer. So, and he's going around trying to change everything, and I don't know, it's pretty funny, you know. So
I like it.
They do some good stuff, Athletic. They really do.
Yep. I think it's cool they've got such a reach and like a brand awareness. I think it's, if anything, it can open the doors for restaurants and breweries to have offerings, and then for the other brands that are at their heels to get in and be there as well. I don't know. I feel like, at least here in Minnesota, like it's a very sober friendly space because of some of the treatment facilities, and like Hazel's and Betty Ford Foundation is here and all that. But there's still plenty of places you go, and there's not even a Heineken Zero or anything to drink. No mocktails, no NA anything. So I think in the next year or two, it's gonna flip. Like, people are gonna realize, restaurants and breweries and everybody else in between are gonna realize that they're just missing out on potential revenue that they could be deriving from people that don't drink alcohol. So excited to see.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you're completely right. It'll be interesting to see what the landscape looks like in 3 years' time, as you say. I think the one thing that I will say is, like, and of course this is baby steps at this point, because as you say, there are still so many places that don't stock anything. Yep. What my focus is starting to shift to, and others, I think, is that what I don't want, all of the good work that Athletic have done, to go to essentially bars and restaurants going, well, here's our our non-alcoholic beer, there you go, and essentially giving you one choice. Sure. And I think that the frustrating thing for me, or an analogy like I get, is like, imagine if you drank alcohol and you walked into a bar and there was one drink.
Sure.
You'd be like, I don't drink that drink. I drink other, like I don't drink beer, for instance, or I don't drink gin, or whatever. So I feel like we're getting there, and I'm really glad. I don't want to seem disappointed in kind of the point where we're at, but I do think I don't want people to rest on their laurels and go, because then it just becomes a similar situation to having a dusty old O'Doul's in the back of the fridge. We've got a couple of Athletics. Well, yeah, but when you've got 40% of the population not drinking for one reason or another, and you've got essentially over 90% of people that do drink not choosing to drink sometimes, then your offerings need to expand. There needs to be 3 or 4 different types of drinks. You don't have to have half the bar, but it would be nice if there was 3, 4, 5 different options across the board.
Yep.
And I think one thing that I find really baffling, and I know it's not a cost thing because I've seen what the margins are and stuff, but I don't understand why more bars and restaurants aren't picking up on the RTD cocktail companies and stocking that. Then you don't even have to make it. All you have to do is open a can, you know, and it's just baffling to me why they wouldn't try it. But it definitely seems seemingly to be a bit difficult for them to kind of get over that hurdle. They will eventually because they'll see other people doing it and making money out of it.
Yeah.
But,
I hadn't thought about the ready-to-drink cocktails getting into bars. That seems like a slam dunk, really, because then you're diversifying your offerings from whether you have an NA beer or not to having the other side of the coin with people that don't want to have whiskey. They want maybe a spiritless or old-fashioned or something to that tune.
Yeah, or even things like gear, or there's so many different brands out there that offer more traditional cocktail type, classic cocktails or whatever, and then the sort of more alternative, different herby botanical type stuff. And as I say, they make it so easy. You don't even have to learn how to make it. You just had to work out how to open a can. It's perfect, But we'll get there. And I think what will happen is that people will just start gravitating. I mean, there's apps like Buzzcut, which are for some couple of ladies from Portland who created this great app, and essentially you can search where these drinks are being served, and I use it on a fairly regular basis if I'm somewhere that I'm not familiar with the bars or whatever. To be honest with you, I don't go out to a lot of bars anymore, but if I do need to, I will pick the place based on what that app tells me they're serving. If they're not serving anything, I'm not going.
For sure.
So
cool. Well, I think this has been great, Myles. I really appreciate your time. I know you're busy, and I know it's fun to set aside time to talk with someone that's doing similar stuff. So I appreciate that. I like what you're doing with the Substitute newsletter and the LinkedIn posting, and I think it's all gonna be for the greater good. So keep that going. Yeah, and for folks that are listening through to the full 42-minute long conversation we've just had, and if you're not subscribed,
it's already 42 minutes. Wow,
it's 42 minutes. Yeah, feel free to subscribe. Check out the Fancy Like, the American Gold, and if you haven't tried it, you gotta try it. The Deschutes Fresh Squeezed IPA Non-Alcoholic. Props to all those brands. So, thanks everybody for watching. Thank you, Myles. Have a great day, everybody.
Thank you.